The Chicago Bulls have been pretty up and down for the last several years, and it never truly felt like they had any real direction. But finally, after a miserable start to this season, the Bulls not only look like they're building something, but they're actually fun to watch. They have a 9-2 record over their last 11 games, and what their young core has been doing is incredible. Josh Giddey hit a game winner against the Lakers in one game and nearly had a quadruple double against them in another, while Coby White is doing things for the franchise that haven't been done since Michael Jordan. This is a completely different team than they were when the season first started. Not just because they traded their top scorer, but because you can now see the younger players getting better with every single game they play. Plus, they've had one of the top offensive ratings over that stretch, and even more surprisingly, they've had one of the best defensive ratings. They've come a long way and have won some pretty impressive matchups in the process. They walked into LA and dropped 146 points on the Lakers in a win. If you want to see just how good this Bulls team could be, especially that young core, then you should go watch that game. Coby White scored 36 points on 70% shooting, Buzelis scored 31 points on 67% shooting, and Josh Giddey was 2 steals away from a quadruple double. Could you imagine, out of all the players that have played in the NBA, if it was Josh Giddey who became the first person in 30 years to get a quadruple double? The fact that he's even coming close is insane, and he absolutely tore apart the Lakers on both sides of the ball. And right after hurting the Lakers in the Western Conference standings, they did the exact same thing to the Nuggets 2 days later. If you're currently competing for a playoff spot, for whatever reason, the Bulls are the last team you want to face. This game wasn't as crazy as the Lakers game, but it was still really impressive. Coby White scored 37 points while playing solid defense, Josh Giddey almost had a 26-point triple-double, and 6 different players scored double digits. It was close throughout the entire game, but then the Bulls took over and ended up winning by 10. Yeah, the Nuggets didn't have Jokic, but it was still an impressive win on the road. They even beat the former Bulls duo of Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan when they played the Kings literally right before the 2 games I just talked about. Coby White scored more points by himself than Zach and DeMar did combined. He was by far the biggest reason the Bulls won, but it really was a full team effort. Kevin Huerter and Nikola Vucevic both scored over 20 points while shooting extremely efficient, and Trey Jones was equally important. It was just another really good performance for them, and that was just one 3-game stretch. They still had a huge win over the Magic where Kobe scored a career-high 44 points and had an 18-point win over the red-hot Pacers. And of course, they were able to beat the Lakers again in one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen in my life. The Bulls had no business winning that game, but somehow they scored almost 10 points in 10 seconds and won it with a half-court shot at the buzzer. Yet another really impressive win. And even in their 2 losses throughout that 11-game stretch, they only lost those by a total of 9 points. It feels like the Bulls are finally moving in the right direction and now actually have something to build around. I just talked about how good they've been over their last several games, but like I said at the very beginning, they're also simply a fun team to watch. They have so many different players that can score 20 plus at any given moment. They also swing the ball. They're not one of those teams that ISOs on every offensive possession, at least anymore. They're 4th in assists per game on the season, and they have 7 different players averaging over 3 assists a night. They've been playing a lot better on defense, and as you saw from that second Lakers game, they're giving it their all until the very last second. Plus, on top of all that, the whole Bulls core is super young, and this is only the beginning of seeing this group play together. The culture seems to be a lot better than it once was. Everyone clearly likes each other, and even though this team isn't currently built around their core, they've been able to make it work. They're a game and a half behind the 8 seed and 2 games behind the 7 seed. They were literally almost 15 games under 500 in early March. When I say they've come a long way, I really mean that. And regardless of what happens come playoff time, this is easily a step in the right direction. Coby White has been the heart and soul of his team and has hit a different level since becoming the first option. He started off slow when Zach LaVine was first traded, but he still could have been dealing with the effects of that ankle injury that caused him to miss 4 games not too long ago. But soon after, things started to come together, and it feels like ever since their overtime win against Toronto, he's completely taken over. In his last 13 games, he's been averaging over 29 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. That's what first option Coby White looks like. He's even become the first Bulls player to ever win back-to-back Player of the Week honors since Michael Jordan. Not even Derrick Rose did that. Kobe's actually the first player in the Eastern Conference to win it back-to-back since MVP Joel Embiid. Not to mention, he's literally second in the entire NBA in transition scoring this season, only behind Giannis. What he's doing right now is not normal, and he resembles Chicago Bulls basketball in every way. Plus, he's genuinely a good dude, so that makes him even easier to root for. However, Coby's just one of the pieces of their young core. The Bulls selected Matas Buzelis with the 11th pick in this year's draft, and he's had a pretty successful rookie season. He started the year kinda slow and wasn't getting a ton of minutes, but in the second half, he's gotten way more opportunity. He has a ton of potential, and he's had a few really good games that showcase that. Buzelis is a 6'10" forward that can play in the paint and on the wing. He's got great body control and is a surprisingly creative scorer, and it's only gotten better as this season has gone on. His numbers aren't the most eye-opening, but all you have to do is watch him play and you'll see the value that he brings to the team even if he doesn't fill out the box score. And another big piece of that future core is Josh Giddey. There were a lot of people that didn't like the Caruso-Josh Giddey trade for the Bulls when it first happened. We just watched Josh Giddey struggle in the playoffs, and guys like Alex Caruso are few and far between. However, the more time that passes, the more this trade becomes a win-win for both teams. OKC got exactly what they needed, and Chicago got a player with a lot of potential. I was one of the very few that really liked the trade for both teams from the beginning. Josh Giddey had some really good games for the Thunder, he just didn't really fit the team anymore. But now for Chicago, he has the ball in his hands way more and is able to make a much bigger impact offensively. He's a very good passer, and despite not being a very good on-ball defender, he can get his fair share of steals. The potential was always there. Like I said, he just didn't really fit with that OKC roster, plus they were gonna have to pay him soon. Everyone said that the Thunder fleeced the Bulls, but who knows, maybe it ends up being the other way around. He's been averaging almost a 22-point triple-double on incredible efficiency since the All-Star break. He's also the first player on the Bulls with 5 or more triple-doubles in one season since Michael Jordan himself. It hasn't just been them three though. Vucevic has been playing really well, and so is Dosunmu. Plus, they still have guys like Patrick Williams and Lonzo Ball. It's crazy to see what this team currently looks like versus what they've looked like over the last several years. This team really has had so many different starting lineups. Finally, they have some pieces that they can build around, and hopefully that era of staying around 500 and fake competing is over. It's been a very rough time for Bulls fans, so they deserve this. I've actually seen people argue that it's stupid for the Bulls to compete and that they should be tanking for a better draft pick, which on the surface makes sense because realistically they're not going to be competing for a championship this season. But what people fail to remember is the fact that these players are human, and when all you do is lose, it creates a losing culture. Once you start winning games, it instills confidence in all the younger players. They're showing themselves what they're doing is working and that they can win games with what they have, while at the same time, if they lose, it's not really a big deal. So that not only allows players to try things they wouldn't typically get to try, and it allows them to play through their mistakes. They're trying to win every game they play, but if they lose, then it is what it is, and hopefully everyone got better. At the end of the day, right now, that's all that really matters. And because of what they've been doing, they now have one of the most entertaining teams in the entire NBA, so I think they're gonna be just fine. But let me know what you think about this current Chicago Bulls team, and please leave a like on the video to support the channel. Also, subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.